Do you like butt jokes? Do you want to use toilets as a form of fast travel? How about curling up someone's butt in order to control them like they're some sort of meat mech? Well, if any of that sounded appealing, I have the character for you. How yin's doing? I'm Ian, and this is the Streets of Rogue character guide to the Shapeshifter. The Shapeshifter is unlocked via beating any level with 5 different characters. Since you start with 6 characters at the start of the game when you first install it, it is theoretically possible to unlock this character before any other. However, given how much easier it is to unlock several other characters to the point where you can accidentally unlock several of them on a typical playthrough, it is very unlikely that this is going to be the first character you unlock when you first install the game. As for your backstory, it reads: the Shapeshifter has been sent to Earth for the purpose of causing planet-wide chaos. Unfortunately, the Shapeshifter's earthly appearance is that of a demonic-looking little naked person. It's just pink eye, okay? Which is not really ideal for the functioning in society. Fortunately, the Possession Stone allows the Shapeshifter to hop into and out of people's bodies, making life on Earth a whole lot easier. More on the Possession Stone in a bit, but for now let's start with your stats. You have a pathetic 1 in everything save for speed, which is set to 4, which is good because your wanted trait means that cops will be hostile to you. And you're also antisocial, meaning that you won't be able to rely on recruiting followers as a rule of thumb, similar to what we had to experience when we were covering the previous cannibal and werewolf characters. However, unlike these 2 traits, your next one is actually unique to the Shapeshifter, which means unless you give it to your custom characters, you will not be able to play with this trait whatsoever unless you pick the Shapeshifter. This trait is called Diminutive. Not only does this trait make it so that you deal less damage while enhancing the bodily harm you receive from your opponents, but it also allows you to flush yourself down a toilet as a form of fast travel. This can be useful as a form of quick escape, but bear in mind that you have no control over which toilet you're going to come out of, meaning you're just as likely to show up in the toilet stall next to the one you're standing in as you are to end up in someone else's bathroom. Hell, it's not unheard of for certain floors to end up generating in such a way that all the toilets spawn inside a single building, because this is a video game, and in video games, bathrooms are optional. Please bear in mind, however, all 3 of your starting traits are effectively turned off when you're using your special ability, called Possess. Possess does exactly what the name implies. It lets you possess NPCs and wear them like meat suits. This has some obvious upsides and less obvious downsides. Firstly, you gain any abilities of the individual you possessed. This means that yes, you can possess a hacker and then hack into computers remotely with a laptop, or end up playing as a police officer and arrest people with handcuffs just like you could if you had selected those characters in Character Select. But police officers in particular can be some of the most powerful candidates for possession in the entire game. However, since they're hostile to you by default as long as you're outside of a meat suit, this can be quite risky to attempt. And even if you manage to successfully possess someone, if one of their fellow officers saw you possess them, they'll still be hostile to you as they try to rescue their friend. And should the individual you're possessing die whilst you're still using them, whether this is because of blunt force trauma, bullet allergies, or recreating that thing we agreed never to talk about, you will be forcibly removed from the carcass a few seconds after its death from what I assume to be post-mortem bowel movements. If this ever occurs, you will end up taking 15 damage as penalty. If you wish to abandon ship from the soon-to-be-dead NPC you're possessing, or if you simply found a better host altogether and want to ditch the one you're currently in, you can always use the Possession Stone in your starting inventory to simply escape whatever NPC you're currently trapped within. This item cannot be removed from your inventory whatsoever, no matter the circumstances, so get used to having less inventory space than you have with other characters. Please bear in mind, however, there are a few drawbacks to doing this. First and foremost, the NPC whose body you are leaving from will become hostile to you upon you doing so. Thankfully, they will also be inflicted with the dizzy status effect, which means that they won't be able to attack you immediately. However, it's best not to linger, and this can be quite tricky when you realize that leaving the body of someone you're possessing also puts your possession ability on cooldown. Does not matter if the reason you left the body was because you used the Possession Stone or due to the premature death of the individual you are possessing, it's still going on cooldown. So make sure that when you're in a transitional state of molting one flesh suit for another, that you don't have to worry about cops walking in on you or any other hostile NPCs for that matter. Also keep in mind that NPCs you possess will as a rule of thumb have less health than the ones you can select in Character Select, even if they are of the same class. So don't be surprised when the Slum Dweller you possessed in the back alley ends up having less HP than the Slum Dweller you selected in Character Select. Also please bear in mind that you cannot possess all NPCs in the game. The most notable instances of this in the game world will be mission objective NPCs and those who are already possessed by shapeshifters in the game. This means if you end up having a neutralization mission on any given floor, you can't just possess the individual and have them go on a suicide mission as you use them as a meat shield to do something stupid. As for NPC shapeshifters, well, while they're not as clearly identifiable as the mission objectives due to the lack of giant arrows over their heads, they can still be easily identified via their red eyes. You see, when you or any NPC of the same class as you possesses someone, the whites of their eyes turn red. This can easily be used as an identifying marker so that you can see when NPC shapeshifters are around. This is not only useful in making sure you don't accidentally try to possess someone that cannot be possessed, but also as a way of making money, since NPC shapeshifters will drop a lot of cash whenever they're defeated. This obviously means that betraying your own can be quite the lucrative endeavor in this game. Just remember that when you go after other shapeshifters, you're gonna have to double tap. Once for the meat suit they're wearing, and a second time for the piggy bank inside the meat suit. With the basics now covered, let's move on to your big quest. Your big quest is called Seeds of Chaos. In this quest, you must find a specific type of NPC, possess them, and then kill a different kind of NPC. The difficulty on this can vary wildly, since sometimes you can just possess a sleeping NPC in a hospital and then unload your machine gun on the NPC in the next room over, whilst other times you'll be expected to possess a cop during a zombie outbreak. Thankfully, however, if the NPC you need to possess and/or kill ends up going extinct, for example if all the cops get eaten by zombies before you can possess one and complete this quest, then the quest will simply have the individuals you need to possess and kill change. This means unless you leave the floor before completing this big quest, or if some sort of mass extinction event happens, it's impossible to fail this quest as long as you keep trying at it for long enough. If you're curious about what NPCs you need to possess and kill respectively, they will be specified in the map menu in the upper right corner, as is the case with all big quests when you're wondering what you need to do specifically. If you manage to complete this big quest, once you reach the mayor's village, the cooldown that you will have to deal with when leaving a person's body for whatever reason will be reduced from 5 seconds to 2, the 15 life you lose upon the death of your host will no longer be a thing, and NPCs will no longer mind you crawling up people's butts to possess them, even if it was their own rectum you're crawling up. All in all, I give the Shapeshifter an Infiltrator out of 10. If you want to feel like a super spy and casually steal the intelligence by asking your coworker nicely for it, then the Shapeshifter is right for you. That's all for now though. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one, comment what you want to see me cover in the future. I've been Ian, you have been you, and this has been the Streets of Rogue character guide to the Shapeshifter. And stay tuned, the Shopkeeper is coming up next.